Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. I just want to make a really quick video and talk about some negatives to porting your guns. I want to say right up front that I'm a big component of porting, so I am definitely biased toward porting your guns, but I do want to make a video exclusively to why you would not want to port your guns if you have a problem with certain issues or certain things that, you know, maybe you would deter you from wanting to port your guns. What would those things be? And so we want to talk about some of the negatives of it, even though I do believe that if you weigh the pros with the cons, the pros are definitely outweigh the cons when porting a gun. As you can see, these three guns are ported, and we have several videos on these guns if you want to see more or hear more details on these particular weapons here. But let's just get right into it. I don't want this video to be too long. I don't want y'all to wait 10 minutes to hear what I have to say about the negatives of porting. But the one negative that we'll start with is that porting is louder. Okay guys, so porting definitely does make the decibels that you hear, even when you're wearing ear pro or whatever, it does make the gun louder, and you can hear it even when you're wearing good ear pro. You can tell a difference. When I'm shooting matches and things, I notice very little difference, and you get used to it really fast. It's about like shooting a gun for the first time. It takes you a little bit to get used to the sound and the blast, but once you've got shot for a while, you know, you get used to that. The same way with porting, you're going to have to kind of readjust kind of what you expect out of the gun to kind of get used to it and be okay with it. Okay, guys? So that's just something to think about if you're going to port your guns. On the same note, and kind of in the same department as that, you're also going to get not just more noise and a louder decibel at the ear, you're going to get more blast. So if you're shooting from retention, you know, you're going to feel a little bit more blast from the gun. Even if you're holding the gun out all the way and extending the gun, you're still going to feel slightly more blast in toward the face. It's not enough to be frustrating or aggravating or to affect your shot, your shooting, or your accuracy. It doesn't do anything like that. It's just noticeable. It's just something you can note. You can realize that it does produce more blast from the gun. But after you get used to it, you are definitely going to have quicker splits and follow-up shots because the muzzle is going to return faster. And once you adjust, the performance is definitely there and definitely gained by the porting. All right, another thing to note is also, another negative would be that the gun and the barrel is slightly harder to clean. Okay, guys, when you have a gun that is ported like this, there will be carbon that builds up around the porting, and it'll build under the slide. In this area, there'll be some slight carbon. If this window is cut correctly and large enough, most of the carbon, 99% of the carbon, will be blasted out the top of the gun, because the blast pretty much only comes out right when the gun is shot, and once the slide moves back, it stops ejecting carbon and anything else, debris from the barrel itself. But there will be slight amounts of carbon build up in the slide. So if you like your guns to look perfect all the time, might be another negative for you when you port your guns. When you shoot these guns ported, you know, you're doing it for the performance. You're not doing it because you are very picky about your guns looking perfect and clean all the time. So you got to kind of expect that every 100, if you shoot more than 20 shots in a row, you're probably going to want to clean it if you're picky about the way a gun looks. Whereas a non-ported gun, you might go 100, 200 rounds and it still look pretty clean based off what ammo you're using. This is going to look kind of dirty after about 25 rounds. So that's just something to think about when porting guns. A negative that you have to consider. Let's go into another negative real fast. Another negative would be that there is certain brands of 9mm ammunition. When you're shooting a ported gun, there's going to be certain brands that you want to stay away from, simply because I don't find it to be a safety issue, even though the brands may themselves say that don't shoot this brand with a ported barrel because you could get hurt from copper or whatever coming out of the ports and hitting you. As long as you should always consider this just like the end of the barrel. You should consider this a place where gases and different things can be expelled from the gun, so you should never put your hand over this or this toward your face when you are shooting a ported gun. So that's just something you have to consider and train past. So I'm not too concerned about the training or the safety aspect of that, but I am kind of concerned with the fact that if you shoot certain ammo through it, it does tend to lead. If the jacket is not thick enough, because of the brand of ammo you're using, it can lead your barrel faster, which could lead to less accuracy and even some other problems if you don't clean your gun enough. So if you're going to shoot Blazer brass or Federal or some of them real light jacketed rounds through these ported guns, then you're going to want to clean it every 200 rounds or more often than that. Okay, guys? Because it does lead up and it is harder to clean. It is more toxic to clean. I'm not too concerned with that, but I just want to let you know that it is something to consider. So you might want to make sure that you are finding the correct brands to shoot through your gun that will not cause it to be as dirty. Some brands barely cause the gun to be any more dirty than a regular gun without ports, and some brands tend to really lead the gun up, and it just makes it a lot harder to clean. Just something to consider. All right, guys, that's the main points that I want to make. Another point I want to kind of bring out real quick is that porting your gun, depending on how good of a job is done to the gun and what it looks like and who you're selling to, it may hurt, even though you would think, and somebody who wants it and somebody that likes that kind of thing or likes performance would pay more for this. The resale value on this gun may, in some cases, drop for some people because there's going to be certain people that don't care nothing about having those ports and maybe even see it as, ruining the gun or something. So you kind of limit your audience of potential buyers if you eventually do want to sell the gun, even though I think if you find the right people and the right people, you could get more money out of it because it is a performance upgrade in my opinion. So that's just something else to think about as well. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I could add. Porting is definitely not going to increase your skill as a shooter. It's only going to increase the speed at which the gun will return to zero. So if your fundamentals are really good, if your skills are really good, then it will show on the shot timer when you have a ported gun. But if you don't have the skill or the fundamentals down, I would say just stick with a regular gun until you kind of get those nailed down pretty good into where you can consider yourself kind of intermediate shooter, at least before you get into shooting porting guns, because you're not going to see the differences there. And so I would just recommend that you wait until you have at least a little bit better than basic skills before you get ported guns to see the difference. Even I'll be honest, sometimes even I think that there's certain aspects of my shooting, certain basic skills that I need to slightly improve before I can see the full performance of the porting. But I definitely have seen a performance gain in my splits, in my double taps, my time between shot splits and stuff. I've seen definitely some performance gains, but I would like to improve my skills to a point where I can see better results from the porting that I've done on these pistols. And these are great pistols. I wish I could shoot them as good as some people can, but I also wish I could shoot the thousands of rounds that some people get to shoot every year. I might get to shoot anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 rounds a year, and some people get to shoot 1,000 to 3,000 rounds a month, or maybe even some professional shooters get to shoot 1,000 rounds a week to 3,000 rounds a week. And that's the difference. Do you have the time? Do you have the money? Do you have the support, the sponsorship to get all those reps in and those skills developed to actually take advantage of these things? Is something to think about and note. But if you're also a collector who just likes cool, unique guns, and that's kind of how I am too, then this kind of thing is really cool. I have plenty of guns that are not ported and they're not upgraded, but all these guns have my own personal touch and upgrades, and every one of these guns is completely unique to any other gun in the world in certain aspects, because I've touched them all with my hands and I've done certain things that's made them unique to any other firearm, and that's kind of neat to me. I can name certain things about these that I've done that nobody else, I'm almost positive nobody's done it exactly how I've done it. So that's pretty cool, and I as a collector like that. Just consider what I say and make the best decision you can. I just wanted to give you some negatives to porting your guns. There might be some other negatives. If you can think of any negatives, please leave them in the comments below and we'll discuss those as well. And if you have any questions about adding more negatives or things that you would like to add to what I had said, then please leave it in the comments below and like and subscribe. And let me know if there's any way I can help you further in answering these questions. We'll go back to what we said at the start. Do I think porting is worth it? Yes, I think it's worth it. Yes, I do think you get more pros out of porting than the cons, but I wanted to flat out make a video just about the cons of porting. And even though I love ported guns, there are cons, and you should consider them before you port your guns. God bless. Have a great day. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm fixing to shut this video off. I do want to add one more thing, I guess a bonus negative, and that would be, and probably one I should have included, the probability that in order to get a gun that's ported to function 100%, if you port it enough, you will have to tune the gun to get it run reliable. So that's just a bonus negative. But it's not all the time, and I guess so it doesn't apply to every ported gun. Most of the other cons do. So maybe it's a good one to add as a bonus. Because if you port your gun with just 1 or 2 ports or smaller ports, then you're not going to have to worry about this as much. But if you port it to the level that I have some of these guns, I mean, all these guns have, this one has 4 larger ports, this one has 5 decently sized ports, a little larger than average, and this one has 5 larger ports, or larger than average. And in order to get these guns to run as good and reliable as I would like, I have tuned all these guns to run 100% reliable in the way that I want them to run. So that being said, they're extremely reliable at this point, but you may have to tune the recoil springs, the recoil system, the way the gun is running. There might be certain aspects of it, trigger springs, striker springs, whatever, you might have to change and tune a little bit, recoil springs, to get it to run 100% reliable. So that is another bonus. And like I said, that just is based off how many ports and how large the ports are. If you don't go too extreme with the ports, that's not an issue. And you can also, instead of doing that, you can just run like 124 NATO out of the factory spring system, and it's probably going to run 100%. I did tune these to run 115 grain regular, as far as regular, more regular target loads, 115 grain loads. I've tuned these to run those 100%. So that's where we're at. God bless. Have a great day. Please like and subscribe, and please leave comments below and let me know if you have any questions. Have a good day.